Shea Stadium. The big story. Mets 86. Exciting, thrilling, awesome. Let's take a look.
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut. Hopefully, God, hope you like this video. This long live stream we'll have here tonight a little bit. Obviously, the Mets are not playing tonight. Thank God they didn't lose today. And then they're going to lose tomorrow. They're not playing. They're on their way, or they're in London right now. Enjoying themselves, representing Major League Baseball. To those limeys over there, I mean those British people over there, and let them do that. This is bigger than the Mets season in the moment. Hello, Gorilla. You're absolutely right. Hit the like button and subscribe. If you're coming for the first time, subscribe. You can participate in the chat. Well, we're going to have a very interesting live stream. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and that's run down the Mets prospects. And we're going to do that tonight. I was going to do this on the Prospect channel, but I felt like doing that here. I don't think I'll be doing any live stream on any other channel other than this. Keep everything all centered here and ready to go. But obviously the Mets have won 3 in a row. They've gone, 5-2 in the last 7 games. There's still 8 games under 500, and they had a terrible month of May. 9-19. Looked really bad at times, and they've basically failed in every department. Pitching has been bad at times. The bullpen has been bad of late. They haven't hit. The defense has been lousy from the start. Is there anything that they've done right? It doesn't seem like it. And I know people are excited that they played better, but let's look at the competition. Let's see who the Mets have been facing the last 3 days and really the past weekend, even though the Diamondbacks went to the World Series. They were not one of the highest winning teams to go to the World Series in the last 50 years. They were the last wild card. They just squeaked in, and they kind of went on a bit of a carpet ride, but then they faced the Rangers. So, we have to sort of – but they've been bad for the last few years. Obviously they lost Gallen in one of the games against the Mets. Game 3 of that series, they got completely bombed in that game. And obviously they got beat in the 9th inning on Sunday. But this is not a good team, and I'm not going to be Pollyannish with you. Always be honest. In spite of what the channel does, because long term I look at what I do on here more important than a subscriber count. But we mentioned the channel needs about 9 more subscribers to get to 4,700. So please subscribe, even if you're watching a replay. I'm going to talk about in this video, we could go and dig deep into what's going on with the ball club, like we've been doing. But I want to do something a little different tonight. With going to the Mets' top prospects. I really think that's very important. And we're starting to see some of them percolate. We saw Christian Scott for 5 starts, and they sent him down just to get him work. Because of all these different off days, the Mets have been kind of in a weird spot right now. But I want to sort of talk about these prospects and how important they are. Because their development, specifically the pitching, will determine how good this team is. That's the one thing I'll say, is that the pitching is the key to all this, as you know. And I've been trying to sort of figure out for you, interesting way to talk about it. I've had all these different lists, and this is a Fangraphs list. They just put out about 2 weeks ago. About 2 weeks ago. Let's run this up. It's a little slow. Little slow at the moment. But in the meanwhile, please hit the like button and like this video. And then hit the same thing. And subscribe. Excuse me. You do these videos after a while and you get a little spastic, to be honest with you. But we have Fangraphs. My computer has frozen a little bit. A lot of information on this website. So this is the Mets' top 42 prospects. And we're going to go through this. Just wait a minute. Obviously the season will start again in a couple of days. So I just wanted to sort of run through this because, like I said, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it is important. And some of these guys we will see very shortly, specifically the pitchers, and probably Luis Angel Acuna. I recorded a video on Jeff McNeil for tomorrow, and I did not mention Acuna in the video. I should have. Totally forgot. I have to wait for this to come up. This is what happens when you have a lousy computer. It's not my. I don't use dial-up anymore. Used to. So we're going to run down this list, and there is one new name on this list that I don't know him. He's a catcher or pitcher, so he's a new name on this list. But we'll just run down the list. About 42 players, and it starts with Christian Scott. Let me just check some things here for a second. Now, in the meanwhile, please hit the like button and subscribe, and don't be shy in the chat at all. You don't have to super chat. I'll answer your questions for the most part. Here's Christian Scott. Let me read you some of his stuff. 60 out of 60 fastball, 55 out of 55 slider. Cutters 55 out of 60, so he ranges pretty good across the board. Another of the many recent pitching prospects who were squeezed out of the rotation at the University of Florida by the program's terrific depth. Scott worked out of the Gators bullpen throughout his college career, but has been stretched out as a starter in Pro Bowl. He shifted the rotation in 2022, then broke out in 2023 as he enjoyed a velocity spike. Scott began the 23 season on the injured list with an oblique strain, but once he was healthy, he was on the expressway to Queens, climbing 3 levels across just 19 starts en route to a spot on the offseason top 100. He debuted not too long before the list publication, so he obviously he's made his debut with the Mets. Scott has a huge wing, gets way down the mound, traits that combine to give him huge extension and a shallow approach angle. His fastball really jumps on hitters, and he misses a ton of bats with at the top of the zone, even though it's technically a sinker. He's always had a pretty juicy slider, and he and the Mets have done well to demarcate his 2 breaking balls. Scott now has an upper 80s cutter and a slightly slower sweeper style slider. Not only does he have 2 distinct breakers, but last year Scott seemed to have altered his changeup into a firm split, giving him a very complete mix. Some of what Scott is doing mechanically is pretty violent, and he has a nasty head whack, whatever that means. And you can see why he was penned in the past, but he's thrown a ton of strikes in Pro Bowl. This is definitely a control over command guy, and has mostly proved he can't. I would mention I'm watching the Cyclones play, and the Cyclones have not played well in this game today against Aberdeen. and has mostly proven he can sustain impact fastball across a starter's load of innings. From a craftsmanship standpoint, Scott remarkably advanced for a guy who didn't start in college. The writer says they had him projected for a 25 debut during the offseason because of his 40-man timeline. The Mets thought he was ready for prime time already. He projects as a mid-rotation starter. That's about right. From what I've seen so far, I would say that the Mets really need to get rid of Jeremy Hefner. He's really held back these Mets stars, these Mets pitchers, since he's been here, quite frankly. Hello, Deron Rivera. How you doing, sir? Here's Drew Gilbert. He's number 2 Mets prospect. He's been hurt since when? Since early April with a hamstring issue. Hope he comes back. Before the 2022 draft, Gilbert was written up here as a potential top-of-the-order catalyst who the writer thought was more likely to be a good fourth outfielder due to his modest power. So far in pro ball, Gilbert's performing more like a do-everything player with a balanced hit, power skill set, and just enough center field defense to project there in the big leagues. He's got a big arm. People are probably saying that he could be a right fielder. He reached Double-A with Houston during the first half of 23, then went straight to the Mets as part of the Justin Verlander deal and slashed a fantastic 325, 423, 561 slash during his post-trade time with Binghamton. He was assigned to AAA Syracuse at the start of the 24 season, but suffered a hamstring injury really the first week of the year. Anthony DeComo went into detail on the status. Gilbert's re-up for MLB.com, indicating a late May or early June timetable. I haven't heard anything. Haven't heard anything about him and when he's going to be here. I talked about him a lot on the other channel. The best comparison for him is Lenny Dykstra. Well, this is interesting. Edwin Diaz was rehabbing. I didn't realize he was rehabbing in this game for the Cyclones. That tells you how I'm paying attention, folks. That tells you how I'm paying attention. I'm just a great Met fan, aren't I? I knew he was rehabbing. I didn't realize it was tonight. Duh. But yeah, Edwin Diaz was rehabbing tonight. I was home today. I saw that he was going to rehab. Didn't realize he was in the inning now. Yeah, but Gilbert is considered a guy very much like Lenny Dykstra, Brett Gardner. Obviously, when Billy Epler was with the Yankees, he really appreciated Gardner. Number 3 is Jeff Williams, who was the Mets' number 1 pick 2 years ago. Now, he's been injured with a sore wrist. He might need surgery, and how long he might be out? He might be out the whole year. Who knows? This is a kid that if he was a bigger player physically, he was 5'9". If he was bigger, or 5'6", what am I talking about? He's a little guy for a baseball player, and even for an average height guy, he's pretty small. He would have been a number 1 pick. I mean, he went number 11th overall 2 years ago, or 14th overall 2 years ago, but he could have been a top 5 pick if he was bigger. And this obviously guys like Williams and Acuna make Jeff McNeil very, very expendable. Jeremy Rodriguez at number 4. I'll read you about him. Acquired from Arizona in the Tommy Pham trade, Rodriguez's skill set compares favorably to the high school infielders who took in the first round of the domestic draft. He's a skilled, well-rounded player with an unusually high floor for a teenage prospect thanks to his defense, and he's 17 still, and bat-the-ball ability. The latter of which is heightened by his excellent plate discipline. The writer wrote Rodriguez up as more of a utility guy when he was an amateur because he lacks the big frame body projection typical of a star player. But now that he's accumulated TSL season's worth of data, both his plate skills and contact ability are profile driving attributes. We're talking 80% contact, 90% in zone contact, and only 19% chase rate. DSL metrics like this are only so meaningful, but put on Rodriguez's tape, and he looks like a really good hitter. He's been awesome in a small 2024 sample size. He tracks pitches with bird of prey precision and makes flush, high quality contact with a lovely, effortless. Somebody hit a home run for Brooklyn. Who hit that for Brooklyn? Somebody hit a home run for Brooklyn. He tracks pitches with bird of prey precision and makes flush, high quality contact with a lovely and effortless left-handed swing. I think we saw him a little bit during the spring breakout. Rodriguez is also a good defender, shortstop defender. His exchange on slow rolls and on grass is sometimes clunky, but otherwise he can make the requisite shortstop plays. His hands and range are plus, and I think something close to prototypical arm strength will arrive with physical maturity. This is not a monster ceiling DSL prospect. Rodriguez is more in the Brian Rocchio-ish high probability bucket. Once again, using recent draft prospects as a way to triangulate more correct list placement for DSL guys would slap Rodriguez behind the Marcelo Meyer and Jordan Laurlers of the world and closer to the called Emerson, Jet Williams tier player, who would belong in the 10 to 15 range of a draft board. Now here's Ronnie Mauricio. We know about Mauricio. I'm not going to talk about him so much. I mean, he's a guy that what they said about him is very true in terms of his quality at bats and swings a lot. I mean, really his projectability is being an average major leaguer. He is got a very good arm defensively. His arm is excellent, and his fielding is pretty good. And he runs really well. Tremendous power. Whether he becomes this impact player, people are very excited for him. I will say that. Luis Angel Acuna, I think we're going to see him this year. And I think probably sooner rather than later. I don't think they're going to rush him, but they're very excited for him. And that's been the word going on with the Mets. Let me read just some of his things about him. Acuna's hands on defense can be clumsy. He's mostly played the middle infield, but prior to the trade, the Rangers also gave him some reps in center field, and the Mets have continued to develop him there some of the time. He looks like a natural center field defender with plus closing speed and ball skills. The ceiling as a defender there might be really high because he already looks so good despite having not played the position for very long. If he can be a plus center field defender, also play a mix of third, we're talking about a very versatile utility guy whose streaky offense would be more acceptable than if he were in an everyday role. It'll be interesting to see what his role will be. But he is a high energy guy. And he is a guy that steals our bases. Blade Tidwell. He just got promoted to AAA. So it'll be interesting to see where the Mets put him. He might be with the Mets very soon. Especially if guys like Jose Quintana don't pitch well. If Jose Quintana doesn't pitch well, you could see Tidwell being with the Mets. He might be the next guy to make it to the majors. When the Mets draft him, I think they drafted him 2 years ago. Yeah, they drafted him in the second round 2 years ago out of Tennessee. 6'4". I mean, this is like a casting call for a pitcher in terms of size and everything else. Brandon Sprout. Mets drafted him twice. The third round, 22, and then the second round last year. And they're very high on him, and he's pitched great. I don't know if he's going to be in majors this year, but he's got a shot to make AAA. He just got called up to AA. There's a good chance he'll be with the Mets at least next year, at the very least. But he's pitched really well in the minors. Let me read you a little bit of him. Sprout tends at 94 to 98 miles an hour, and a sinking upper 80s changeup is easily plus. He has reshaped his breaking ball as a pro and is now throwing a sweeper-shaped slider in the 82 to 85 mile per hour range. He's not using a ton as of yet, but it has the potential to be a separator for him. Slider consistency was Sprout's biggest issue at Florida, and it looks as though the Mets have helped him make an adjustment there. They've also altered his arm slot. Sproul was a cross-bodied lower slot guy in college, but he's a little less cross-bodied now and is throwing from more of a third quarter slot, giving him fastball rise, run shape rather than the same tail of his college days. He's not yet comfortable locating his fastball to parts of the zone where its new movement plays best, but this should theoretically help it miss more bats than his college version did. These attributes are still new enough that even though Sprout was already promoted to Double-A, the writer wouldn't consider him on the fast track to the bigs until the dust settles on some of these tweaks. He's given himself a better chance to start long term, and he would now he does throw very hard, and we could be talking about a top 100 prospect next offseason if Sprout performs well at Binghamton for the rest of 2024. I could see him being AAA this year. I don't see him, like I said, with the Mets this year. Probably sometime in the middle of next year, he could be with the Mets. Now, meanwhile, please like this video and hit the subscribe button. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I'm happy to be able to do this for you now. Number 9, Jesus Baez. A $275,000 signing from 2022. Baez is an exciting left-sided infield prospect with remarkable arm strength and capacity for a hitter his size. He's 5'9", he's 19, 180 pounds. He rotates with ferocity in the box and can hose you from deep in the hole, short, or third base. Meaning, you got to go on. Currently at Low A St. Lucie, Baez's strikeout rates have trended in a better direction as he's climbed from rookie ball thanks to the combination of his good but not great barrel feel and his short levers, which enables him to have a fairly noisy and aggressive swing without actually being too long. He has all fields power that is currently of the doubles variety. Baez isn't especially projectable, but his explosivity is exciting and he should have above average raw power at peak. Whether he gets to all of it is going to be dictated by whether he can become more selective. So much here. Baez is incredibly chase prone, but he has been talented enough to perform on offense so far despite this. His tool set is similar to Miguel Andujar's, except with better third-base defense. You can see how that's exciting, but also why it might cause you to be standoffish about forecasting Baez as a slam dunk every day big leaguer, even though his physical tools are an indicator of that. Let me just say hello to the chat. Hello, Music Man. Yeah, some of these guys are a little bit dwarfish. And a little, you know. Again, it's not a tiny guy. This is Ryan Clifford. This is another guy they picked up from the Houston Astros for Justin Verlander. The visual evaluation of Clifford as a hitter is one of a passivity and a bottom hand dominant swing that tends to be underneath fastballs in the upper half of the zone. Clifford shows the ability to move the barrel around the bottom 2/3 of the zone, and he cuts his stride with 2 strikes. He's a good rotational athlete whose move forward is balanced but explosive. His hitting just shy of 160 against fastballs as of the list of this publication. Unless he makes some kind of adjustment, he's only ever going to be able to hit low ball mistakes. Written up as a Lucas Duda type of platoon bat during his last scouting update, Cliff is not only trending down, he's on increasingly thin ice, especially without a good defensive component to his profile. And Lucas Duda was not a bad first baseman. He wasn't a good outfielder, but he was a decent first baseman. Thing about Clifford. Clifford was in the top 100 in Baseball America. He's off of that now. And he did not do a good job in Brooklyn. But then again, Brooklyn has a very bad reputation for left-handed bats that don't hit for a lot of power there. But he is a guy that he's very young, and you got to give him a little bit of time. Demon Rivera says, Hut, do you think they use Tidwell as reliever, or will he start? As far as I know, he's going to be a starter. All these guys are going to be starting until further notice. But not everybody's going to start. They're going to have veterans here. They're going to have guys in front of him. Not for any of these pitchers. The Mets don't have an elite starter here. A lot of these guys can be one way or the other. And I think Tidwell tends to be a guy that walks a lot of batters. Here's Nolan McLean, and he is a two-way player. He's a DH/starting pitcher, and he's a guy the Mets drafted last year from Oklahoma State. I hope the Mets get another player from Oklahoma, so I can keep saying it like that. But McLean has been just killing it in the minor leagues. He went nuts um, in St. Lucie, and has been in Port St. Lucie, and he's been doing all kinds of great stuff as he's gone through the Mets minor league system this year. Let's just see something with him. Just want to see his scan report a little bit here. And meanwhile, please hit the like button. Okay, McLean was a two-way college player and Baltimore's unsigned third rounder from 2022. The Mets scooped him up for just shy of $750,000 in the 23 third round. Though he has continued hitting early in 2024, McLean has only ever realistically been a big league prospect as a pitcher, and this year he's taken a leap in that regard. It looks like a power reliever who might have 3+ pitches at peak. You have to project on his secondary pitch consistency to get there, but he has focused solely on pitching yet. He hasn't. So you can. This is a very explosive, low-to-the-ground athlete who creates big hip and shoulder separation during his delivery. It's a delivery typical of a big league power reliever, a mid-90s fastball. What's my place here? He showed 3 different breaking balls in college and still has at least 2, as well as a tertiary changeup. A scout source who caught McLean the week before publication noted he had a shot to develop 3+ pitches. Well, now Brooklyn's hit a home run here. Brooklyn's come out of nowhere. No, who hit that? That thought he had a shot to develop 3+ pitches. His secondary stuff was wildly inconsistent on tape, but a flash is plus. Consuerga, he's got a good power bat. His secondary stuff is wildly inconsistent on tape, but a flash is plus, especially the slider. Don't worry about McLean being a little older than most developmental prospects. Because he was just drafted, he has as much time as any other college prospect to improve on the Mets organization's umbrella and is on a post-2026 season 40-man timeline. McLean has 3 whole seasons to polish his control and refine his secondary pitch in order to profile as a middle reliever, which feels like his floor. All of the late bloomer and athletic traits indicate he has more ceiling than that. Well, we'll see. The Mets are having him do both for now. He's both the sort of a starting pitcher and a DH when he's not pitching. At number 12, Boston Barrow, another guy the Mets drafted last year from Capistrano Valley High School. Barrow was a standout at the 23 MLB draft combine, ended up getting $700,000 rather than head to UCLA. He has rare physical projection for a medium bonus high school player, let alone one who hits left-handed. Barrow is a heady and athletic third-base defender with uncommon range and bend for such a tall guy, especially if he ends up with a bit more arm strength as he fills out. He projects to be a special hot corner glove. On offense, Barrow shows an ability to track pitches and use the whole field. His hands are sometimes a little late to fire, but as he gets stronger, he should be able to shorten up and accelerate them more readily. He has a very exciting skill foundation with lots and lots of physical projection remaining. He was given a somewhat aggressive assignment to low A St. Lucie and is off to a great start. Looks like a potential everyday third baseman, though he will likely take a while. Now, let me double check something. Need to check something. I would say this, that Kevin Parada was not put on this list. Okay. I'm very surprised that his name did not show up on this list. And now that I looked at Boston Barrow's name on this list, okay, just a little correction. But that's the name that I did not see on this list, was Kevin Parada's name. And there are catchers on this list, particularly Giovanni Rodriguez is on this list, and he has not played yet for the Mets. He's a kid they signed in this past draft. I mean, this past off season, and he's not on this list. So this list is a little incomplete. Marco Vargas. Run down some of these names. We know he got picked up from the Marlins for David Robertson, as well as Ronald Hernandez. Mets are very excited about him. They look at him as sort of being able to do everything, kind of player, but he's very young. He's 19 years old. Giovanni Rodriguez, don't have much on him. Rodriguez, who signed for nearly $3 million in January, has a classic power hitting catcher skill set and a scaled down Gary Sanchez mode. Built to withstand rigors of a full season of catching, the broad shouldered Rodriguez has big pull power and arm strength. He has been participating in DSL activity, and along with bounce back candidate Diverson Gutierrez, will be part of the high profile catching contingent down there. But again, he's the highest ranked catcher on this list, and Kevin Parada is not on this list, by the way, which is very interesting. Now, here's a new name, a new player. I didn't know this player existed. This is Wellington Aracena. Let me read you his profile, and I've not heard of him. They signed him in 2022 from the Dominican Republic. He's 19 years old, and he's a right-handed pitcher. Aracena is a high-effort teenage righty who has had a huge velo boost entering 2024. In the early portion of the Florida Complex League season, he has been sitting 94 to 98 and touching 99 for as many as 3 innings at a time, which constitutes a 5 or 6 tick bump from 2023, which Aracena was spending his 30 in the DSL. The movement of Aracena's fastball was all over the place. Tends to have natural cut, but also flashes big tail. His delivery and level of athleticism aren't anywhere near this, but the same was true of a complex era Camellia Doval and Emmanuel Clase. So he's 6'3", 180 pounds. Hello, Rebel, so wanted. Mets will need to polish and develop his fastball movement to lean into either the cut or tail as the shape of the pitch. I'll tell you, when he needs cuts and tails, I'm getting a little hungry for some fish. As the shape of the pitch, as it currently constitutes, you won't hear this anywhere else. The things I'll say will cause it to play below its velocity. He appears poised to be developed as a starter, which makes sense given that you want him to work on these things. Still, based on his delivery and strike throwing track record, Aracena is likely a reliever. Purely from a trade value standpoint, he probably belongs a bit lower on this list. As teenage pitchers carry risk, and this one is still quite away from the big leagues. Even if you consider him a likely reliever, as the writer does, he has the potential for a ghoulish cutter slider combo. His slider touches 87, has 28 RPM, 2,800 RPM, and so on average. That plays in the late innings, okay? Jose Buto, he's number 16. We know about Buto. We've seen him. He's a good back end of the rotation starter. He's got to cut down on the walks. Number 17, Dom Hamill. What a disaster. He's had a disastrous year in AAA. Not very disappointing. Jonah Tom. He's a guy to keep an eye on. I've talked a lot about him. He's got a chance to be something interesting. Josh Walker. This is a very strange list. We've seen him. Why is he on this list? He's pitched a lot for the Mets. Why is he on this list? He's on the Mets. He's in London right now. Christopher Suaro, a catcher. A speedy, undersized Suaro hit well enough at Lower St. Lucie early in 24 to earn a quick promotion to Brooklyn. He is simple in the box work, and he is catching tonight. And a short, low hand load, the combination of which allows Suaro to be on time consistently. His swing's a little uphill, and he can't always get on top of the high pitches. But the hit power combo here is enough to project Suaro as a well-rounded backup. It's now 7-2 Brooklyn. Suarez is a Bronx native who played at All Hallows High School and for travel ball teams in the U.S. before he relocated in the spring of 2019. The son is an international amateur. He's been catching for very long and is athletic enough to perhaps transition back to one of his former offensive positions and have rare versatility. So he's 20 years old, 5'11", 205 pounds. Sounds like a catcher to me. Davison Gutierrez, 18 years old, catcher. He signed for just a shy of $2 million in 23 and views perhaps the best defensive catching prospect in the international amateur class. Gutierrez had a rough 23 in the DSL and is back there again to start 24. He's at his best when his approach is more conservative and geared for hard-line drives, which is how it has looked during his DSL tune-up activity. He still wanted to be a backup than a primary catcher, but things do look better than they did during Diverson's debut. Okay, a lot of these players is the first time I'm reading anything about them. I've read the names, I know about the names. Here's Callan Houck, the Mets #1 pick from last year. We're gonna have a big show for you the day of before the All-Star break. So when all the games are done, we're gonna have a big show here and follow the draft because the draft is now the Sunday before the All-Star game. So I'll be able to do all kinds of stuff here. I'll talk about the Mets first half and obviously the draft. We'll lead into that. Houck seemed like a high upside development project as a high schooler, but not only looks overmatched in Pro Bowl, his twitch and overall athleticism have backed. He's been at the top of high pitch, but he struggled badly to pick up spin. The writer had him evaluated as a late first rounder prior to the draft and is surprised at how bad things look in the early going to 24. Houck's defense. Where's my bell? My bell's in the other room. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding. Thank you. D-Ron Rivera. A little backed up here. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. It means a lot. That really helps. Let me highlight you here. You keep it up. You thank you. This house this house thanks you. Because when people send me super chats, it helps with house, helps with paint. It helps with getting a new flooring on here. So I thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. I wish I had my bell. I had my bell in the other room. I will have music. We're going to have some music in here when people send me chats and stuff. So, Houck's defense, he's playing a mix of mostly second and third base, has been fair. He makes some acrobatic plays, but doesn't have huge range or arm strength. The writer kept him alive at the shortstop here, which is largely why he's on the list at all. But even though I tend to take a Bayesian approach to grading these guys where I weigh my prior evaluations into my current ones, especially when a guy is struggling like this. Houck looks so lost right now that I felt less inclined to do so. Here's the thing about Houck. People were very high on him. So he is 18 years old. He just got drafted. Who knows what kind of adjustments he's had to make in his first go-around Pro Bowl. So I would not. This is the lowest I've seen him ranked in any list. This is really the most current list you could possibly find because Fangraphs really digs into this thing. Jacob Reimer, number 23 on this list. Reimer lacks a real standout tool, but he does a little bit of everything. He was taken 2 years ago by the Mets. He has the arm and action for third base. Those instincts aren't great. And he could grow into having something close to a power tool. Reimer's swing is relatively conservative. He's 20. He's often on time and looking to pull. He has strength to do doubles damage with his simplistic approach. A style of swinging that's a good fit for a hitter of middling athleticism. Reimer is a 40 athlete with a 55 frame build. So whether you want to project on him growing into more than just doubles pop depends on what characteristics you want to hang your hat on. Here he's projected as if he'll grow into enough juice to be a 40 grade, four corners role player, but not enough to regular. He hits his way from Port St. Lucie to Brooklyn in 23, but hasn't laced them up yet in 24 due to a hamstring strain for which he's on the 60-day IL. That's not good. Let me see if there's another player on this list I'm curious about. Another player not on this list, which I'm very surprised is not on this list, and he's been killing it and killed it in Port St. Killing it in Brooklyn. That's Nick Morabito. He's not on this list either, and I wonder why. And the rankings are very odd with Colin Houck being so low, and we're not Parada and Morabito on this list. And guys like Trey McLaughlin, this is about as high as I've seen anybody put McLaughlin. I didn't know McLaughlin was this good. Now he was in the Arizona Fall League last fall, obviously, but to see him this high on this, wow. Let me take a look at him. He's 25 years old. He's going to get to the major leagues probably this year or next year. Drafted 3 years ago by Zach Scott, Mets. All the pieces of McLaughlin's repertoire fit together. His command makes each of his pitches sing, and he mixes them evenly enough to keep hitters guessing. He's a high probability, low leverage reliever. That means he's a sixth, seventh inning guy. Calvin Ziegler at number 25. Now, here's the thing about Ziegler. He's been hurt. And he had to get Tommy John surgery this season. So there's really not a lot to talk about there. Mike Vassell, who everybody was talking about last year, Mike Vassell. And he's pitched terribly in AAA. People were saying that I said that he was probably the closest to the majors last year for the Mets. And he has pitched terrible since he was called up to AAA. So he might not be, I don't know what's going on with him. Number 27, Tyler Stewart. Stewart is a strike-throwing behemoth who has kept his walk rates down in the 2.5 per 9 innings range since entering pro baseball. He's now accumulated 14 efficient AA starts and is marching toward a post-2025 40-man ad. He is 6'9". He is a giant. Stewart's stuff is dominant, and he probably needs to find a better changeover split to avoid an eventual bulk relief role. But his durability and command give him a really high floor. He's mostly going to live in the low 90s with both a two and four seamer while commanding an average slider to his glove side. His ability to vary his fastball shape helps keep him off the barrel, and is a big reason why he's run ground ball rates around 50%. He's a low variance 6-starter type. Well, the word about him was that he was going to be a reliever. But we'll see about him. Cade Morris, this is a kid they drafted. He's 21 years old from Nova. A rather righty who was barely 21 years old on draft day. Morris's 4-pitch mix gives him a long-term shot to start despite the way his performance trended in college, ending with a 5.42 ERA in his draft year. Morris will bump 96 from a lowish slot, and he can still manipulate the shape of 2 average breaking balls and create tailing action on his changeup. It's an east-west operation with a little less release consistency than is ideal for a starter prospect. Morris had a hot start at low A as a third-round college arm should, and was quickly promoted to Brooklyn early in 2024. Okay. Here's Will Farrow, number 29. Farrow had something of a breakout 2023 when he hit 14 homers with St. Lucie. He struggled pretty badly out of the gate with Brooklyn in 2024, but he's only 20. He's looked better to the eye than he has performed on paper. In the last couple of weeks, it looks like he's starting to adjust to pitching quality at the new level. Farrow's carrying attribute is his defensive versatility. He can play basically any position, though as a publication, the Mets haven't given him 2024 run in center field like they did last year. Farrow also has uncommonly strong hands for hitters his age, and they can create modest but meaningful power in a short mechanical distance. There's a chance to be a power hit utility guy. He's 5'10", not too big of a guy. Number 30. This is the lowest seen of Alex Ramirez on any list, and he's 21. He's in Double A right now. He needs to really kick in gear, because I think he's lost a lot of believers. Let's signed him 5 years ago. Ramirez hit 240 across 22 and 23 in high A games, but was still promoted to Binghamton to start 24. He's off to a better start there, but his issue, a noisy swing that takes a long time to wind up and produces otherwise impressive bat speed, remain, and he struggled to elevate and pull fastballs. He's still just the age of a college draft prospect, and Ramirez has some physical abilities that merit keeping him alive as a prospect for a while longer. But the time when we could expect that he'd be a meaningful part of the future has passed. And that's not good. He needs to develop as a center field defender to give himself the best chance of playing a major league role. Yeah, he might have had his shot. Uh, and from what I understand, it's a bit of an attitude issue there, I think. Number 31, A.J. Ewing, who seems to be a guy that has a good shot. I had Ewing evaluated as a 70-ish thousand dollar ish draft prospect last year, and he got just shy of that from the Mets rather than go to Alabama. Ewing is a medium frame hitter with above average bat speed and modest physical projection. The writer had him projected to second base when he was an amateur, but he's also played a lot of center field so far in pro ball. Though he has a hitterish look, Ewing's amateur ball and play to whiff ratio is pretty mediocre, and he might end up with a power driven profile. He could be he could be a part time up the middle hitter. We'll see. I don't know much. I haven't seen him. Edward Lantagia. Lantagia is a slower twitch corner outfield prospect in a 17 with a substantial frame-based power projection. Mets signed him for just shy of $1 million in January of 2024, and he's been participating in preseason DSL activity where he looks as advertised. He's an open striding hitter with natural feel for pull side loft, but he can get extended and cover the outer half. He needs to get stronger, but he has a pretty interesting offensive foundation and has a good developmental outfield prospect. He's left fielder, 17 years old. The Daniel Nunez, we've seen him. I think a lot of people like his stuff. He's pretty good. Those strikes. Wilkin Ramos. Let's signed him in 2017. Wow. Oh no, he was excuse me. Doesn't say when the Mets signed him. I don't think the Mets signed him. Once a deep sleeper in the A system, the ultra lanky Ramos has made a dramatic change to his delivery and is now a funkadelic low slot reliever. He sits in the low to mid 90s and creates huge tailing action on his fastball because of his slot, while his sweeping slider flashes huge two-plane movement. Ramos still isn't totally comfortable with his delivery, and because of his length, his misses are huge when his delivery is out of sync. But he's getting a ridiculous number of ground balls and limiting opponents' quality of contact, and he's kept alive here as an up-down look reliever note. 6'5", he's a big guy. Number 35, Ronald Hernandez. He's hit really well. I mean, he's been pretty good since the Mets brought him in from for Dave Robson. I don't have to talk too much about him. Brett Banks. They drafted him last year. Banks was a redshirt junior draftee who was out at Wake Tech and Catawba before UNC Wilmington. His velocity peaked during the 23 college postseason when Banks was 96 to 99 miles per hour regionals. So far in 24, he's been more in the 94 to 96 mile per hour range. A little bit of natural cut. He's a strapping 6'3" righty with a shot to be a pretty standing middle reliever the Mets can improve on his secondary pitch. Okay. Joel Diaz. Diaz dominated the DSL in 2021. He's 20 years old now, seeing mostly 92, 91, 92 with a promising curveball. He's healthy and back on the radar as a fairly likely relief prospect, though it appears he'll likely continue to be developed as a starter. I think he started tonight for the Cyclones, I think. Another pitcher, number 38. He's a new guy I don't know much about. Luis Alvarez. My computer is frozen. Now, in the meanwhile, of course, please like this video and hit the subscribe button. Just going to finish up this list. I might be on again tomorrow, probably covering the Brooklyn game. Obviously, the Mets are going to be in London. Play there. I wouldn't get too worked up if the Mets lose both games or both games one way or the other. In my opinion. Okay. Alvarez has spent 2 seasons in the DSL sandwiched around the year lost to injury. He's shown a big increase in velocity during the 2024 season. Let me go to my phone so give me a better idea. Oh, I'm sorry. Alvarez delivers a dead ringer for Paul Skeens except that he field location. He's a strapping 6'5" lad with big arm speed and some ability to spin. What the hell is this? Sorry, folks, sort of froze here. Let me go down to my. Let me read off my phone. And again, like I said, in the meanwhile, please hit the like button and subscribe. It's all screwed up here. Okay. He's a strapping 6'5" lad with a big arm and some ability to spin a breaking ball. But without any occasion consistency, he's a framing projection and arm strength development on at the bottom of the Mets system. Luis R. Rodriguez, who I believe is out for the season. So he's a lefty. Yeah, we're going to have to wait on him a little bit. I don't like really talking too much about the prospects that are sitting. Ramon Gomez, he's another guy that was hurt last year. I think. So there's not really much. And here's another guy, Bryce Montes de Oca. We've seen him. He throws 100 miles an hour. Again, he's another guy who's hurt. Probably won't see, and again, Nate Lavender. This drives me crazy, folks. They do these lists, and all these players, a lot of these players on this list are injured. Why do you do a list and you have part of being a good player is staying healthy? You know, part of being a good player is being healthy. Part of being a star and an impact player is a guy that can stay on the field. That's like seems to be like the number one prerequisite, in my view, of being a good player, is being able to start and being able to play every day, right? So why are they doing these lists where the players aren't playing? Makes no sense, right? So that's the one thing I noticed about these different lists that MLB, all these different publications put out. Is they put out these publications to players that are always hurt and they don't play. It makes makes no sense. At least doesn't to me. I don't know what it does to you, but it certainly doesn't to me. Yeah, so I'll be back in tomorrow. We'll probably watch this Brooklyn game that they're going to have again on SNY. It's weird watching the game early. I was watching the game early, and the sun is like reflecting off the camera work. So this isn't like with SNY put their cameras. This is like minor league cameras. So they don't reflect the glare because they used to telecast the Brooklyn games on SNY. And SNY used to send the people there. Used to send their people there to watch the games and to broadcast the games. They don't do that now. So the video is so bad in the beginning. But I'll be back in tomorrow, and we'll talk more about this. We'll see about the weekend. Obviously, I'm going to be working a lot, so I won't be able to do any streaming after the games, unfortunately. And the Mets will be playing, I guess, at 1:00 on Saturday and 10:00 on Sunday. It sucks. Randy Fernandez, what's going on, Hut? Let's go, Mets. Where have you been, Randy? The stream's over. The stream is over. The dream is over. Oh, the dream's over. The dream's never over. But yeah, we'll be back in tomorrow doing a stream. I'll cover the Brooklyn Cyclones game. That'll be different. This is a bit of a rest. I mean, we get a bit of a break in the middle of the first half before the All-Star break for us. Yeah, it sucks to work. I work all the time. It sucks. I want to get a job where I can work during the week like a regular schmo, and have the weekends off and do more stuff with you here. This show does really well, man. I gotta say, I thank you for watching. All the people that are watching, I really thank you a lot. Help me bought this house. Uh, the revenue that I brought in from people watching the videos and sending me super chats like D-Ron did, um, they were able to buy me this house, put the down payment down on it. And you watching videos every week and every day and every month it gives me the ability to sort of pay for the mortgage here. Well, you let me know what you think about this. You don't want to know my issues. I got a lot of problems. You know, not as many as you would think. But I want to thank you all for coming by. We'll be back again in the near future, probably tomorrow. And we'll have some videos. I recorded a video for you about Jeff McNeil. That'll be up tomorrow. Got it inspired by Wardy to do a video. And let me again highlight this super chat from D-Ron Rivera. Thank you. And just keep your eye out for videos. We'll have plenty of videos here. It's a very active channel. Plenty of shorts. Did a funny short on Willie Mays before. And 93 years old. He got 10 more hits. Boy, Willie was a great player, but I didn't realize he was that great. Well, thank you for watching this live stream. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.